So the next presentation is going to be the last one, and we'll tackle this new component, which is the transfer component. So following the experience we had at EUI, so Urban Innovative Actions, we realized that it was quite important that we actually embed the transfer component earlier on in the project implementation and really try to, so we developed a new aspect, and all projects should come up with a transfer partnership and a transfer work package. And this is what we're going to present now. Why we decided to do this was, well, basically to increase the general adaptability and the replication of the solution that we will be testing as part of your project. It's also to allow other cities to raise their innovation potential and increase their capacity to implement the solution that you will be testing, because they will be able to follow you through the implementation of your project. And it's also to prepare the replication of the solution into these new cities. So as we mentioned, each main urban authorities will have a transfer partnership composed of 3 new cities. They need to come from different EU member states, and at least 2 of them should be located in either less developed or in transition region. We also want to ensure that the partnership includes cities of different sizes. And as we mentioned, cities will be following the project and will gather learnings from it, but they will also benefit. They will also provide main urban authorities with learning, input, and acting a bit like as a critical friend. At application stage, we don't ask you to know exactly who are the transfer cities that you're going to be working with. What you need to demonstrate in your proposal is that the solution that you want to propose could benefit other EU areas. So if you're looking to apply under the sustainable tourism aspect, well, you should be able to find elsewhere in Europe cities with similar challenges that could benefit from your solution. The other element that we would like you to elaborate on is how you're going to identify those cities and how you're going to select them. We have a matchmaking tool on our website that you can use, where either you can enter as a potential transfer city who would be interested in working on greening cities, for example, or you can be also a main urban authority looking for transfer partners, and then you can also specify which types of cities would benefit from being a transfer city. So as I mentioned, we don't need the exact name of your cities at application stage. However, if you have them, of course, mention them. It's always interesting to know, but explain how you select those cities and why these are relevant and suitable. You will need to define the exact cities you want to work with at the end of the initiation stage, and so this is this period of 6 months after the start of the project. And they will have to either sign the partnership agreement or send a letter of intent. So during the implementation of the project, transfer cities will benefit from a lump sum budget of 120,000 euros ERDF. So they also should come up with a 20% co-financing as other delivery partners. And we're proposing a wide range of working methods that can be implemented during the implementation of your project. So these could be, for example, site visits, peer reviews activities, workshops. They can also, transfer cities can also do small works on their own city to prepare for the transfer of the solutions, such as studies or small investments to test the pilots. There are 3 mandatory outputs that you will have to work on during the implementation. The first one is the transfer capacity survey. So each transfer city will have to take a survey before and after the end of the project to see how their transfer capacity and their innovation potential has evolved. They will have to submit a feasibility and opportunity study related to the replication of the solution. So there will be, again, 1 per transfer city. And the main urban authority will have to propose what we call an innovative solution model, which will basically explain for any other city in Europe that could be interested in the solution what are the main features, how they implemented it, and what are the key challenges that they face, etc. So these will be the mandatory outputs that will come up in your work package transfer, but this is all indicated in your application form. This is all for the section on transfer, so we'll open the floor for question regarding this part.
Thank you, Kathleen. So we have quite a couple of questions regarding the transfer partners. A lot of interest here for this new component of innovative actions. So I would like to start off, if you could specify who can be transfer cities. Do they have to be from the EU? Do they have to comply with the eligibility criteria from DG URBA 1 or 2? And also, what is the maximum amount of money that we're allocating to them in this project?
Thanks. So any city in Europe can be a transfer partner. They have to be located in a European Union member state. However, we don't apply the same threshold in terms of number of inhabitants that we do for main urban authorities. So we have a bit of a wider range of cities who can become transfer partners. Can you repeat the question? Sorry, I kind of forgot.
They were asking, so we have the threshold which does not apply for transfer partners, but do they have to be DG URBA 1 and 2 to be able to apply as a transfer partner?
Yes, indeed, although number of inhabitants, so the size of the city is not important, but it needs to be DG URBA code 1 or 2, so they need to be urban authorities, so urban or semi-urban local authorities. We are referring here, maybe for our participants who are not familiar with this slang, we are referring here to Eurostat coding, distinction between urban areas, rural areas, and to our correspondence table where you can actually check it precisely. So we are looking, when we are talking about transfer partners, in other simple words, we are looking for cities.
Thank you very much. Romain, we have a question for you regarding the application form and how to put in the transfer partners within the application form. So one of our participants says that they have already identified 3 cities, but they cannot add them to the partnership in the EEP. Could you explain where and how cities can add their transfer partners?
Yeah, absolutely. So at the application stage, it's not possible to include the transfer cities as former partners. So in the partnership section, you will only have 3 pages dedicated to 3 transfer partners, but you cannot actually fill in these pages at this stage because, as it was explained, it's not mandatory at the application stage. What you can do is, for instance, maybe mention them in the work package, in the summary of the work package transfer, or describe them in the Part C description. But you cannot do this in the partnership section.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Romain. We'll still wait a couple of seconds to see if anybody else has any question on transfer partners. And if not, I propose that we open the question and answers to any topics. I'll let Kathleen explain this to you.
No, just maybe come back to the question on transfer regarding the budget. It was just to say that there is a dedicated budget per transfer cities, which is 120,000 euros ERDF. So that's the 80% ERDF funding that you receive, and you need to come up with the 20%, the additional 20%. It's a lump sum budget, so you don't have to show real cost. And one thing to mention is that it's also important when you will submit your application is don't forget to also allocate budget for your transfer work package to the main urban authority and also to the delivery partner. We recommend maybe 1 or 2 if needed, who will participate to this transfer work package. So just one element I wanted to develop.
And while we are still waiting maybe for other questions, I would also like to comment on transfer partners, because this is really, really important new feature of our innovative solutions. And let me re-emphasize what already colleagues explained. So at the application stage, we ask you to identify other EU urban areas. This can be geographical areas, this can be cities with relevant characteristics that would benefit from replicating your innovative solution. So we want you to elaborate on this similar characteristic, on this similar context, similar needs, so we understand where you will be looking for your transfer partners. It's also possible, and actually it's recommended, to already start identifying transfer partners at the application stage, because if you will come with transfer partners identified, you can list them. There is a space in the application form when you can list your transfer partners, but still, even if you come with transfer partners, it's not enough to just tell us what are the names of the cities, but we also ask you to explain, okay, why these cities? What is so specific about them that these particular ones were selected? And we basically also very much invite you and encourage you to start this identification process already at the application stage, although indeed the last moment when you need to have your transfer partners identified and you need to have your letters of intent or partnership agreements signed is at the end of the initiation phase, but it will be nicely reflected also in your scoring, in your assessments, if you're a bit ahead and you already have your transfer partners identified.
Our listeners are also mentioning the matchmaking tool that we mentioned earlier during the presentation. Do you think you can specify where we can find it on our website?
Sure. So basically, if you go on the website and you go on in the section Look for Funding, which is the one dedicated to innovative actions, and then you should be able to find it on this landing page. We can send also the link after the event if needed, or put it on social media.
Thank you, Kathleen. Another question popping up on transfer partners is whether they have to be from the same country or from other EU member states.
No, they have to come from different countries. So when you have your transfer partnership, so your main urban authorities and your 3 transfer cities, they need to come from 4 different member states, so that we kind of try to reach different European regions and different member states.
Thank you, Kathleen. I guess that caps up our round of questions on transfer partners. So I'll let you go back to more general question and answers.
Okay, thanks. So yes, maybe we still have maybe another 5 minutes if needed. So you don't hesitate to ask other questions on Slido if you want. It can be on any other topics that we mentioned. So it can be related to the section that Agnieszka presented on what makes a good EUI project. It can be on the intervention logic, the application form, or the transfer component.
Thank you, Kathleen. I think we can already kick off, as we already have a couple of questions. So the first one is, in case of associated cities, should the cities plan a pilot or an investment in each of the cities, or can it be only in one of the cities presenting the project?
Thank you for this question. It's indeed important to maybe discuss a bit more this specific situation when it's not only main urban authority, but it's a main urban authority and associated city or cities. So in principle, having an associated urban authority doesn't mean that investment needs to be located in both cities, or that a project needs to be equally split into 2 and present in both cities. But you need to be able to prove why you are coming in this partnership with another city. So maybe you are developing a project, you're proposing a facility that will be used by inhabitants of both cities. Maybe it's another reason, but you need to clarify why do you need this other city to implement your solution. And that's the most important, to clearly present this reasoning behind and how this collaboration will look like, and to prove that both cities will benefit from project results.
Thank you, Agnieszka. Another question that came up is regarding IPA countries and whether or not they can be included within a project partnership.
We unfortunately, our initiative is limited only to EU member states, and it relates to main urban authority, associated urban authority, and transfer partners.
Thank you, Agnieszka. That's pretty clear. Perhaps we will have time for one last question that was asked actually this morning, but it has a more of an operational aspect to it. So this morning, a person from the audience was asking whether the bulk of funding can actually be transferred to a public company owned by the city. In the case of tourism, for example, a lot of cities have their touristic operations entrusted to a company rather than the main urban authority. Is this possible, and how so? How do we make it work into the intervention logic, the work plan, and in the partnership?
Very interesting question. Thank you for that. I understand that it's specifically related to sustainable tourism, but I think we can try to answer this question more horizontally. So funding, the beneficiary for us is only main urban authority. Main urban authority receives funding, and then according to partnership agreement is distributing the funds according to roles, responsibilities to other project partners. So in principle, yes, you can transfer this money to your municipal company and other partners who have specific roles and they need a budget. Now, two things that are important to stress here is that you might recall that in one of the first presentations, we kept talking and we kept insisting on cities' ownership. So in this whole your financial scheme, we need to see that at the end is the city also having this strategic role. So it's not just you transfer funds and together with funds being transferred, also all the responsibilities and everything is transferred as well. So stay in control, but of course transfer the money as it's necessary and linked to your project implementation. And also when we assess your partnership, I was mentioning that at the strategic level, we look into the relevance of the partnership, if all the competences are on board, if you have quadruple helix around the table, but we keep also investigating your partnership at the operational stage. So for example, we check if a reasonable budget is allocated to your partners, because if in the strategic part you explained that you need this partner and that partner to do this part of the project and that part of the project, then we will look into your work plan, as Romain mentioned, and we will try to analyze if they have enough money to do these tasks, if their role is justified also from the very operational perspective. So feel free to shape your partnership as necessary, as you feel that is required, but have these principles in mind.
Perfect. Jumping from that question, we also had some queries from the audience. Romain, if you could take this one. If whether regions can participate in a proposal to support an urban project.
Yes, as long as there is an urban authority leading the project, a region can be a delivery partner in the project. There is no problem about it.
All right, perfect. And perhaps one last question to really clarify everything. We have been asked if delivery partners should also be coming from the same country as the main urban authority. Perhaps you would like to conclude on this and remind our audience of our conditions.
Yes, so as we were saying, usually we look for partnerships where there is an urban authority with local partners, but it is absolutely possible for you to involve a delivery partner from another EU member state. Maybe in this case, what would be welcome for you would be to justify why you would have to search this specific partner coming from another country, maybe emphasizing on the specific competencies that you could not find in your local area, or maybe it's a partner that you have already worked with, but in any case, bring with a good justification, this is completely eligible.
Thank you very much, Romain. I guess that concludes all of our questions more on the operational part of how to submit an EUI project. Two last questions we have more on technical aspects, whether we can submit on the application form in the EP in another language than in English, and also if all of these PDFs will be available for participants for them to dig in and be able to prepare their applications correctly.
Yes, as it was mentioned indeed in my presentation, you can submit your application form in any EU language, and we will be the ones translating it for you. but that applies only to application forms. So please be reminded that we do not translate annexes, we only translate application form. And regarding sharing this presentation, first of all, and I'm sure when Kathleen will be closing our meeting today, she will remind you about that. First of all, the recording will be available on our webpage. So if you would like to review, go back to certain aspects, share it with your partners so they can understand better, it will be absolutely available. And as well, presentations that we shared with you today.
Thank you very much, Agnieszka. I would like to thank all of our participants for all of the very relevant questions that you asked today. It really helped the discussion to be lively and interesting for us all. Of course, you can always write to us at innovativeactions@urbaninitiative.eu, and we'll be more than happy to answer you. And also, we invite you to check out our frequently asked questions on the website. So thank you very much, and back to you, Kathleen.
Thank you very much, Sophia, and indeed, yes, thanks for all the interesting questions that we received today. We know it was a long event, so thanks a lot for attending it. Some key elements that we wanted to mention before closing. So the call is still open until October this year, and we'll have different activities to support you proposing good application forms. So we still have 2 online Q&A that will take place later on this year. The first one in July, the 17th of July, which will tackle all questions related to financial aspects, the eligibility rule, but also the project budget. So it would take place from 11 o'clock to 1 o'clock, Brussels time. And then after the summer break, we'll come back and have another Q&A session on the 7th of September from 10 to 12. And this will be on any topic. So we won't have it focused on a dedicated topic, but you will be able to ask questions on what you saw today if you want like a reminder, a clarification on the financial aspect, etc. We also have upcoming applicant seminars. So these will be physical events where we will have a full day of presentation trying to help you draft your applications. The first one will be actually next week already. It will be in Warsaw on the 28th of June. And then we'll have one in Ljubljana on the 6th of June. And registration are still open on the website, so don't hesitate to register and come if you're able to. Finally, we're also organizing one-to-one consultation that will take place online. So if you would like to have a dedicated call with an officer from the Secretariat, this is possible. There are still some slots available. And we give priorities to urban areas. So if you're a city yourself, you will have priorities in getting a one-to-one consultation. I believe this is all for us from now. So thanks a lot for joining. Thank you also to all of our colleagues on the stage, but also behind the screen for helping us deliver this event. And hopefully we'll see you soon. Thanks.
Thank you very much.